That's impossible.
In 1995, a character by the name of Sam Rothstein was introduced to the cinema audience. The Martin Scorsese tour de force Casino portrayed the fast life of a gambling genius and analytical mafia-connected mastermind who looks at every angle imaginable before making one successful wager after the next. Yet in spite of everything that happened in his life, the first voiceover narrative we hear at the start of the film is not about any of that. This is how we are introduced.
When you love someone, you've got to trust them. There's no other way. And for a while, I believed that's the kind of love I had.
And what happens next can be viewed as Martin Scorsese's masterful use of symbolism that depicts how a man, in an instant, can blow up his entire life. The Rothstein Fallacy is the term I created to describe a man's belief that he can save a woman who does not want to be saved.
She belongs to the streets.
Question.
Pop quiz, hot shot.
Why do successful men seem to choose the most problematic, neurotic, untrustworthy women to enter into relationships with? The answer is, they don't. Successful men do not intentionally choose terrible women. Successful men can afford to select gorgeous women, and from there they nonsensically choose to ignore all of the red flags so many of those women come with. Simply put, a successful man does not choose to indulge in a nightmare unless she comes packaged as a dream. Women admit to this duplicity and place it at the forefront of popular culture.
'Cause darling, I'm a nightmare dressed like a daydream.
But it goes deeper than being a successful man willing to overlook a few, shall we say, indiscretions. This is nothing short of pure,
unadulterated, man. Would you please shut the up before you have a seizure?
Let's try this again. Pure, unadulterated arrogance. Like the character Sam Rothstein, too many men who are living an amazing life where they are at the top of their game in their chosen profession become arrogant enough to believe that they can accomplish anything. Well, gentlemen, here is something you cannot accomplish. You cannot take someone who is a nightmare based on her own actions or inactions and turn that person into Mary Homemaker. You cannot save someone who does not want to be saved.
Why?
What do you mean why? Because you can't.
Why?
Because you just can't, okay? Trust me on this.
Going back to music for a moment, you'll see where men have themselves made songs highlighting this theme in no uncertain terms.
Love her, man. I love her, man. Look, man, I love her, man. I gotta marry her, man. I'm gonna marry her.
She don't wanna be saved.
Don't save her. She don't wanna be saved. Don't save her.
And you can quickly ruin your own existence in any attempt you make to try to save that damsel who brought about her own distress. Welcome back to the Pitt Lessons, and this is the Rothstein Fallacy, why you can never save someone who does not want to be saved. Where you meet them is where they'll be. My grandmother said this to me once, and the older I grew, the more right she became. Where you meet them is where they'll be. So, if you meet her in the streets, that's exactly where you can expect to find her at some point in your relationship. Think about the first time that Sam Rothstein, played by icon Robert De Niro, saw Ginger McKenna, played brilliantly by Golden Globe winning actress Sharon Stone. Now think about all of the traits that Ginger showed Sam in those first moments. She's for sale, a thief, a liar, angry, impulsive, completely disrespectful of the establishment and those in it. And perhaps worst of all, she finds the entire thing to be funny.
I fell in love right there.
No, he didn't fall in love. He fell in lust. And as men, we need to recognize the difference.
Money, please! Money, please.
If the phrase "she's not your girl, it's just your turn" came to life, it'd be the relationship between Sam and Ginger. In perhaps the most pronounced display of arrogance Sam ever showed, the character legitimately believed he could buy Ginger's affection and laughably her loyalty.
She is the worst person in the world.
Look, no matter who you are, your money will only keep her attention for so long.
A lot of hot D in here tonight.
Eventually, Sam himself acknowledged this fact.
And later, I realized I didn't want to give her the money because if I did, I knew I'd never see her again.
Hey man, it's your life, but at least take the following into consideration if you're going to have a child with a woman who you have essentially leased.
So you're not pregnant? This isn't yours?
No. Do you know how many different pills I take, birth control or otherwise?
You dodged a bullet, baby. Congratulations.
Newsflash. If you knock up a drug addict, money-grabbing escort with alcohol abuse problems and traumatic life experience, why are you surprised when she turns out to be a horrible mother?
That's a good question.
Not only are you putting yourself in a terrible situation, but even worse, you have just placed your offspring in one of the worst environments imaginable if you have a kid with a selfish, imbalanced, manipulative whack job who will always put herself before you or her own child. It was made clear throughout the film that the character of Ginger McKenna was a dumpster fire of a mother. Sam, who by all accounts was a good dad, still bears a part of the condemnation because he knew who she was.
I know I'd be a good father. I know you'd be a good mother.
You know me.
Correction. He ignored who she was. The character attempted to see the good in someone with no cause or justification upon which to anchor that hope. It is up to you to not put an ill-equipped woman in the position of being the mother of your child. If not for your own sake, at least do it for your unborn kid. You are not doing them any favors by giving them 23 chromosomes of a broken woman who can barely take care of herself, much less a child.
A priceless lesson about life. Value loyalty above all else.
Surrounding yourself with the right social circle is something that cannot be left to arbitrary chance. It has to be a conscious decision. Every single day you are building your version of a presidential cabinet, you need competency around you, but you also need people you can trust. When Sam introduces Ginger to his best friend, Nicky Santoro, played by cinematic legend Joe Pesci, watch the look on Nicky's face. He is awestruck. And as Sam's best friend, Nicky has never known Sam to get a woman that beautiful, and this can be gleaned from Nicky's response in that instant.
Holy shit, what have you been doing out here?
We all know at least one guy who is always dating someone stunning. No one is surprised when he shows up with
Another one.
But if the guy who took his cousin to the prom one day shows up with the hottest girl on social media, you're going to be a bit taken back. As was Nicky when he saw Ginger going out with Sam. Some would argue that Nicky did not make the first move on Ginger. They would cite how Nicky was apprehensive at first and testosterone simply got the best of him as Ginger made her carnal intentions known. I would argue that Nicky was always going to hook up with Ginger. Because why else would he get so close to his best friend's wife that she saw him as a confidant? It clearly was not out of the goodness of his heart. Nicky never did anything that wasn't for the benefit of Nicky. Yes, he protected Sam, but he had orders from his mafia bosses to do just that. So in the end, Nicky was still just looking out for Nicky, and loyalty was never in the cards for him. And if you surround yourself with the wrong type of people and pull the pin on that grenade by introducing a woman like Ginger into the circle, don't be surprised if you come home early and walk into something you do not want to see. When it comes to the woman you fall for, I cannot recommend strongly enough that you consider the type of men she has previously associated herself with. If 3 of her last 2 relationships were with rock stars, and you are a hard-working blue-collar man, how long before she misses the attention of someone who is all about that backstage life?
2 lines off her forehead while I'm in her up to my nuts. If that's what you want?
I'm just saying.
If her past boyfriends are in and out of lockup, and you are in the white-collar world, how long before she gets bored with a quiet, stable life and begins to miss the excitement of thug life?
I just got out of jail and I ain't going back. I ain't going back.
Sam fell for a woman with a past that included having a pimp as a boyfriend. A pimp.
Hey, where's my money? Don't you walk out on me.
Everything about Ginger lined up with pay for play. It was clear that Lester, the ex-boyfriend, manipulated Ginger at every turn, and she would willingly throw away her chance at an amazing life with Sam for a man like him who, at the end of the day, never truly cared about her. Does anyone actually believe that the character of Ginger was not a clear-cut representation of the term alpha widow? Dating for the sake of having a good time is one thing, but before you choose to take things to the next level, would you guys please take a hard look at her past relationships?
Are you a hooker?
Dylan.
Or a prostitute, I mean?
And if the woman in your life seems inordinately attracted to losers and drama, it's just a matter of time before...
6 in the morning, police at my door.
Whoop, whoop. That's the sound of the police.
If you get involved with the wrong woman and she decides to make a false accusation against you, it doesn't have to be proven true for it to wreck your life. In Casino, Sam was a known and respected figure in his community. Law enforcement knew who he was, and I'm sure Sam and his gaming establishment did a great job of supporting first responders in their community, outside of the whole mafia thing. So when a crazed Ginger initiated the events that led to a police response at the door of their home, Sam Rothstein had layer upon layer of insulation protecting him from more aggressive policing tactics and prosecution. Plus, the film takes place in the 1970s. Today, Ginger would be on social media making herself out to be a victim as Sam gets societally ostracized and canceled at warp speed into oblivion. After all, one false accusation of any kind can mean nothing to her while costing you everything. Sam Ace Rothstein was on top of the world.
You got everything a man could want.
The fact is, you may be a good guy, but do not ever fall into the Rothstein Fallacy. You have no hope of saving someone who does not want to be saved. And if she does want to be saved, frankly, she has to want it more than you. Ace took the biggest gamble of his life when he fell in love with and attempted to buy the affection and loyalty of a woman who should have only been relegated to pay for play at best. He lost that bet. If you don't learn from his mistakes, inevitably, you'll lose that dangerous bet as well.
She only won because I lost. That's not a winner.
And all these man. She'll get in your brain. She'll drive you insane. Then she will be rich. So what's her name? What's her name?
I'm Sharon Stone, bitch.